Hi everyone! So in today's video I'm going to show you how to make a very simple summer dress, and this is without a pattern. You're going to be making your own pattern. All you need is some gift wrap to make the pattern with, a marker, scissors, some scrap fabric. This isn't really scrap, but it's just a piece I've had for years and I want to use it, and your favorite t-shirt and your favorite skirt. So the first thing you're going to do, of course, is unroll your gift wrap or whatever paper you're going to make your pattern with. And then taking your favorite t-shirt, in this case it's a white Cottage company shirt, and make sure it's folded exactly in half. And then taking the folded edge, you want to place it along the edge of the paper. And I'm going to keep this away about 1/4 inch from the edge, just so I have a little more room in here. Of course you have to allow, for the seams and everything that gets put in here. And then taking your favorite skirt, in this case a skirt that I wear all the time. In fact, I have numerous skirts like this. When I say numerous, I have a few of them that I wear daily. They're so comfortable. Cottage or Kosher Casual is the brand, and I get them off of Amazon. You want to fold that in half and lay that along the edge of the paper. And then you also want to keep it further up than it would be if you'd be wearing it, if that makes sense. As you can see, this is pretty, like the waist would probably be in here, and I'm moving it up a good 3 to 4 inches. I'm also keeping it about 1/4 inch away from the edge here. So the next step is to outline this shape. And of course I can't include the sleeves. I want to have my sleeves separate when I want to sew those in separately. So I'll just be marking the shoulder here. I'll just make a dot here and one here. Go ahead and do that. And then down here where my neckline is, and keep in mind the front is going to come further down than the back. You're actually going to need 2 pieces then, but first we'll just cut the front. And I'll be connecting those dots then. The next dot will be about in here, because again you want to allow for a seam. And then I'll go ahead and just kind of guess. It's always best to make it just a little bit bigger than you think, because you can always make your seams wider than to tighten things up. And then to get my length, I'm just going to make it good and long. I'm not quite sure. I can always shorten it. At this point, I'm not quite sure how long it's going to be, being that I put the skirt further up. If I can get my marker to work here. And then I'll bring the camera in closer when I connect these dots up here. You'll have to excuse the lighting today. We have a really hot and cloudy day. I wish it would rain. It would feel so good. But here in Ohio, this whole week is supposed to be in the 90s, and during the night, not lower than 70 degrees, I think. It's kind of my type of weather, though. I like, hot weather, but it is a bit, extra warm. It's nice to have air conditioning to come into. For the back part, you just cut another piece exactly like this, except for the neckline will come further up a couple inches, and you can always use your t-shirt to kind of get that mark. In the title I mentioned this is a dress without a pattern, and you could make this without a pattern. You just lay it on the fabric and cut it out instead of on paper first. But being that I think I might want to make more dresses like this, I like having a pattern. That way I don't always have to kind of do the guesswork. Now of course you could stop right there and just create a sleeveless dress, but I want sleeves on mine, so I'm going to use my t-shirt again to create my sleeve and just make little marks. As you can see, I have the fold along the top here, and I'm laying that along a straight line. That will be my center point, and then again allowing room for a seam here. So I just made a mark up here, again allowing room for a seam in here, and then down here I also made a mark, and what I'll do is just connect these, kind of creating a gentle curve. So this is of course just half of my sleeve, so I will just make a fold here in the paper. Now I have something that looks like this, and to test it to see if it's wide enough, because just to my eye here, I've sewed enough dresses in the past. I'm thinking it might be too narrow. I might have to add a little bit in here. But to test it, I'll lay my patterns down like this, overlapping the seam, like the shoulder seam. So in here is my sleeve opening, and see if I would sew this onto here, if it would be long enough for me here. It's really close. It's not far from, I think what I'll do is just make another one and then just put a little more of a curve in here instead of just slanting it down like I did. Now I'm ready to cut out my dress, and of course I'm just laying my pattern where the center is on the fold of the fabric. And of course, as you're sewing, you're going to be making some adjustments, so you always want to remember to make those adjustments on the pattern too, so that next time then you won't have to do it. Here I'm cutting a piece of fabric for the neckline. Instead of using, you know, a separate bias or ribbing material, I'll just be using the same fabric and creating an inlay. So the first thing I'll be doing here is sewing in the inlays on the neckline. Now for any of you that do a lot of sewing, you know this is a really simple and basic way of sewing in a neckline. There's of course other more complicated and probably neater ways of doing this, but for the video's sake I'm just doing, you know, doing it the simple way here. And I could also get an iron and press this down before I sew in that top stitch. But again, to keep things simple, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it without, but it does make it easier sometimes if you know, take your iron and press it. The next thing I want to do is sew the sleeve into the dress, and again you could just create it, you know, make an inlay for this shape here and then have it as a sleeveless dress, but I'm going to go ahead and put some sleeves in here. What I want to do here is get the middle of my sleeve and then make sure that ends up on the seam here. That way if I have to trim away any excess, it'll be the same on both sides. And of course you always want to have your right sides of the fabric together. This fabric there's not much difference here which side I use for the top side. Being that my first sleeve came out just right, I don't really have to find the middle and make sure I'm centering everything. So I ended up trying it on before I put my bottom seam in. I always like to do that. That way I can get the length that I want. And when I tried it on, it was a little bit loose around the waist, which I'd much rather have it that way. It's easier to sew in, you know, deeper seams than try to add anything. So I changed that and put in that bottom seam, and here is what it looks like. I'm pretty impressed. It's not, you know, perfect, but there's not much I'd change with the next one I'd make. I think it fits pretty good. I wanted to make another dress, so I went to Mount Hope Fabrics and I got some more fabric, and I actually got John to pick out one of these so I could make it for a vacation that we're going on, and he chose this blue one. So I thought I'd quickly make that one and show you guys kind of how it turned out. And this one is softer. I really like how it feels. I kind of prefer this one over the first one I made. what you guys think. Would you try something like this? I could not be happier with how these dresses feel. We are having really hot weather here in Ohio, and it's perfect timing. I just love if there's nothing around my waist, and I'm just, yeah, it just feels a lot better. It's a lot cooler. And no, these dresses aren't perfect, but they were really simple. Anyone can do this if you're handy with a sewing machine, that is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know my videos have been kind of random recently, jumping from different subjects. But we did take some time off this summer, so I had to do some filming beforehand. So some of these videos are just projects that we have been working on, earlier this year. But bear with me. Soon I'll be back to my thrifting and maybe even some garage sale makeovers. We'll see. As always, I hope your day is going great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.